What's up, fiends? Alucard here. Everybody always asks me what's new on Tubi, so I'm now going to do a video at the beginning of every month. So here's what's new in February 2023. Alright, so if you don't know what Tubi is, it is an American ad-supported streaming service owned by Fox Corporation. It's an app on just about every platform there is: Roku, Fire Stick, Apple TV, Android, the web. Pretty much if you have the internet, it's pretty much available. And they do have ads, like I said, but they're not intrusive, and it's like you get two or three and then it goes right back to the movie. And there's not really that many ads either. So I really love Tubi. And I even have a show called Tubi Terrors where I review movies off Tubi. So check that out if you haven't. All right, let's start with the actual new stuff that's coming to Tubi this month. On February the 8th, we have Love You to Death, the Jodi Arias story. From what I've gathered, this is going to be a documentary, I believe, on the case. There's not a lot of info on it at all. And this is the only one I couldn't even find a poster for. But it should be pretty interesting because Tubi does these really good documentaries. So I'm looking forward to this one. All right, on February the 10th, we're getting A Neighbor's Vendetta. And it's about a woman reconnecting with her husband after having an affair. They go to a cabin in the woods and are confronted by a mysterious neighbor. There's a little more to it, but it kind of gave stuff away, so I don't want to give everything away. But it does sound pretty interesting, and I'm going to check it out. And the last new one, on February the 24th, we're getting a movie called Best Friend. It's about a jealous guy in the friend zone doing whatever it takes to keep his female friend from her new love interest, even murder. So yeah, this one might be okay. I don't know. We'll check it out on February the 24th. All right, so that's the three brand new ones that are coming. Now let's see what else will be new on Tubi. These are not new movies, but they're new to Tubi. So first up, we have Alien vs. Predator Requiem from 2007. This is, of course, the sequel to the first one. It's about warring alien and predator races descend on a rural Colorado town where unsuspecting residents must band together for a chance of survival. This one is okay, I guess. The first one, I did like the first one. This one, it's okay. Next up, we have An American Werewolf in London, the 1981 classic directed by John Landis. Of course, it's about two American college students on a walking tour in Britain, and they're attacked by a werewolf. And of course, none of the locals even admit that the werewolf exists. It's a classic. It's a must-see. If you haven't watched it, please check it out on Tubi. It's awesome. All right, next up, I have a comedy for you called Brewster's Millions from 1985. It stars Richard Pryor and John Candy. This one's about a minor league baseball player that must spend $30 million in 30 days in order to inherit $300 million. However, he's not allowed to own any assets, destroy the money, gift it, give it to charity, or tell anyone about the deal. This movie's pretty funny. I love Richard Pryor and John Candy, so I mean, this movie, yeah, it's fantastic. Next up, I have a thriller for you called Copycat from 1995. It stars Sigourney Weaver, Holly Hunter, and Harry Connick Jr. This one is about an agoraphobic psychologist and a female detective working together to track down a serial killer who copies other serial killers from the past. I do remember seeing this one in the theater back in the day, and it was pretty good. I definitely need to do a rewatch on this one. Next up, we have Dr. Sleep from 2019, directed by Mike Flanagan and stars Ewan McGregor. Of course, this is the sequel to The Shining, and it's about the now adult Danny Torrance, and he must protect a young girl with similar powers from a cult known as the True Knot, who prey on children with powers to remain immortal. Yeah, I still haven't watched it. I own 2 copies of it, and now it's on Tubi. I guess I really have no excuse now, right? All right, next up we have Enter the Void from 2009, directed by Gaspar Noé. An American drug dealer living in Tokyo is betrayed by his best friend and killed in a drug deal. His soul, observing the repercussions of his death, seeks resurrection. Yeah, I like Gaspar Noé, and I've heard really good things about this one. I have not seen it, but it is on my radar, and I will try to watch it pretty soon. All right, next up I have another comedy. This is actually a franchise, the Friday franchise, starring Ice Cube. Yep, Friday. They're all pretty funny. In the first one, of course, Craig and Smokey must come up with $200 they owe a local bully, or there won't be a Saturday. Yeah, these movies are fun. Ice Cube is great. Chris Tucker's great. Like, yeah, they're just, yeah. And I believe all 3 of them will be up on Tubi. All right, next up we have Hood Rat from 2001, aka Tara. It stars Isaiah Washington and Ice-T. So yeah, gotta have Ice Cube and Ice-T, you know. All right, so this one's about a vengeful madman and his would-be victims join forces to stave off an invasion by deadly vermin. I've not seen it. It does look interesting, and you know, Ice-T is actually a pretty good actor, so I'm gonna check this one out. All right, next up we have Leprechaun from 1993, starring Warwick Davis and Jennifer Aniston in one of her first roles. This one, of course, is about an evil, sadistic leprechaun going on a killing rampage in search of his beloved pot of gold. Yeah, again, another horror classic. If you haven't seen Leprechaun, please check it out. And next up, we have a 2020 series from HBO called Lovecraft Country. It's 10 episodes, and it's about a young African American traveling across the U.S. in the 1950s in search of his missing father. Now, I know it doesn't sound all that thrilling, but I've heard it's pretty good. Yeah, I have not watched it, but I will now. All right, next up we have The Number 23 from 2007, directed by Joel Schumacher and stars Jim Carrey and Virginia Madsen. This one is about a guy named Walter Sparrow, and he becomes obsessed with a novel that he believes was written about him, as more and more similarities between himself and his literary alter ego seem to arise. Yeah, this is like Jim Carrey going crazy. It's pretty good. Definitely one of the better Joel Schumacher movies. I'm not the biggest fan of Joel Schumacher. I think he got lucky a couple times, but yeah, this is definitely one of his better ones. All right, next up we have Outlander from 2008, starring Jim Caviezel and Ron Perlman. This one is during the reign of the Vikings. Kanan, a man from a far-off world, crash lands on Earth, bringing with him an alien predator known as the Morwen. Though both man and monster are seeking revenge for violence committed against them, Kanan leads the Alliance to kill the Morwen by fusing his advanced technology with the Vikings' Iron Age weaponry. Again, it sounds a bit convoluted. I've heard really good things, though, and Jim Caviezel is really good, and so is Ron Perlman. So I'm looking forward to checking that one out. All right, next up we have Queen of the Damned from 2002, starring Aaliyah and Stuart Townsend. In this sequel to Interview with the Vampire Lestat becomes a rock star whose music wakes up the equally beautiful and monstrous queen of all vampires. You know, I kind of have a thing for vampires. You know, I am the bat after all. But yes, so Queen of the Damned, excellent stuff. All right, next up we have Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 from 2009. Of course, directed by Rob Zombie and stars Scout Taylor Compton, Malcolm McDowell, and Tyler Mane. This one, of course, is the sequel to his first movie. Laurie Strode struggles to come to terms with her brother Michael's deadly return to Haddonfield. Meanwhile, Michael prepares for another reunion with his sister. This one is kind of controversial. You kind of either like it or you don't. I kind of go back and forth. I'm not sure which version of the movie is going to be on Tubi. I'm not sure if it's the theatrical or director's cut. I actually prefer the theatrical because I think you feel for Laurie more in the theatrical cut. I think she's more whiny in the director's cut, personally. Let me know what you think. All right, next up, we have another franchise for you, the RoboCop franchise. So this one is, of course, about a dystopian, crime-ridden Detroit. where a terminally wounded cop returns to the force as a powerful cyborg haunted by submerged memories. Um, I really love the first one. I don't really care for any of the other ones personally, but I do know people that really do like most of them. But so yeah, there you go. So they're on Tubi now. All right, next up, I have an awesome documentary for you called Room 237 from 2012, directed by Rodney Asher. And it is an exploration of various interpretations of Stanley Kubrick's The Shining. And this is like the most meticulous documentary ever. But it's fascinating. Like each little thing, like this circle means this and then, but it's never boring. And if you're a fan of The Shining, this is a must watch. All right, I have another documentary for you called Tabloid from 2010, directed by Errol Morris. It is a documentary on a former Miss Wyoming who is charged with abducting and imprisoning a young Mormon missionary. So yeah, I've seen some Errol Morris documentaries, and his stuff is amazing. So I am definitely going to be watching this one, no question. All right, next up, I have Tales from the Hood 1 and 2. Both of them are going to be up there. They're anthology horror movies. In the first one, a funeral director tells 4 strange tales of terror with an African-American focus to 3 drug dealers he traps in his place of business. Yeah, the first one's excellent. I've watched it numerous times. I still have yet to see the second one. I've had the second one since it came out. I just haven't watched it. And the second one has Keith David in it. So yeah, I'm gonna have to watch part 2 for sure. All right, next up I have another documentary for you called The Thin Blue Line from 1988, also directed by Errol Morris. This was the first Errol Morris movie that I saw, and I was blown away. It's a documentary that successfully argued that a man was wrongfully convicted for murder by a corrupt justice system in Dallas County, Texas. This movie, yeah, this is one of the best documentaries I've ever seen ever. It's absolutely amazing, and it's an absolute must-watch. If you like true crime or documentaries or any of that, absolutely, please watch this. The Thin Blue Line, excellent movie. All right, I have one more franchise for you, the Undercover Brother franchise. So this one's about when the man tries to derail a black candidate's presidential campaign. Undercover Brother and his fellow secret agents come to the rescue. Yeah, this movie's it's funny. It's kind of like it's Eddie Griffin, being silly and just it's great, and it's all like blaxploitation type stuff, but it's funny. And there is a sequel. I haven't seen the sequel. Yeah, I don't know. I heard the second one's not that great. But all right, so I have one more movie for you. I have Valentine from 2001, starring Denise Richards, David Boreanaz, Marley Shelton, and Katherine Heigl. Basically, if you were a late 90s, early 2000s fan, this movie is for you. This is a slasher movie about 5 women who are stalked by an unknown assailant while preparing for Valentine's Day. I do remember seeing this in the theater. I thought it was okay. I don't think I've seen it since. I know that it now kind of has a cult following, so maybe I do need to give it one more shot. So there you have it, all the new genre programming coming to Tubi in February 2023. Do you like this kind of video? Let me know in the comments below. And should I do this to any other streaming services? Let me know that as well. So I'd like to thank you for watching, and until next time, remember to stay spooky. Peace.